sort of distributed way or only on my?
Takesha, if you want to add something to the agenda, you should get it to Aurora, our secretary, prior to the 1st of the month. That will give her enough time to get items in there. Also, you could just send it to the whole group instead of Aurora, so we can all look at it and see it. But you don't have to do anything other than suggest things you'd like to see on the agenda.
Right, but for the finalized,
Right, we are live.
Okay, we're live. Takesha, let's ask that question as we go forward, okay?
that works.
So I am officially calling the Human Rights Commission meeting to order. It is 7:07 p.m. on November 3rd. I am co-chair Dawn Ennis. The meeting will come to order. Welcome to the November 3rd regular meeting of the West Hartford Human Rights Commission. My name is Dawn Ennis, and I am the co-chair of the commission. I am joined by phone by co-chair Isam Boré. This meeting is being conducted in a virtual format in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act as amended by Public Act number 21-2, which authorizes municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Members of the public can view the meeting live on West Hartford Community Television. I don't know if that's really true. Is that true? Hope so. It's available on whctv.org and YouTube /WHCTV5. This meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing and will be available on the town's website for at least 45 days. Since we are conducting this meeting in a virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before we begin. First, I ask all participants to mute your device when you are not speaking. This would be a good time to do that now. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand, wave, make yourself seen. I will call on you in the order I see hands raised. If you're participating by audio only, or if I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then please do unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. You can also use the chat function to say, hey, call on me. Second, all speakers must make a good faith effort to state the person's name and title at the outset of each occasion that such persons participate in the meeting, such as saying, Dawn Ennis, co-chair, and then proceeding with your statement. Third, all votes must be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. Not really sure how that works. Fourth, a reminder that if any participant has a problem with connectivity, immediately call Pramod Pradhan, whose phone number you were provided with before this meeting began. He will let you know, and he will let me know, and we will recess the meeting while the problem is resolved. If it cannot be resolved quickly, we will ask you to call into the meeting using a phone and participate via audio only. We are now going to go to roll call. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go in the order in which I see him listed on the Human Rights Commission. Isam. I can't hear you, but you can, I think we can say he's here.
I'm here.
Ennis, I'm here. Oh, there you are, Isam.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm here.
Dawn Ennis, I am here. Aurora.
Here.
Eric.
Here.
Ted.
Here.
Sarah.
Here.
Takesha. And Kristen is out ill, but we all send our best wishes to her. I want to note that tomorrow begins Diwali, that this is Native American Month, Native American Awareness Month, and it's also Transgender Awareness Month. And with that, I would like to proceed to ask if the minutes can be accepted from the last meeting. Does anyone have a motion to accept the minutes?
Motion.
Anyone want to second that motion?
I'll
Second.
All right. A motion has been initiated to accept the minutes. It has been seconded. All those voting in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All right. All the members of the commission who are present all raise their hands, and I heard some ayes. Thank you, Isam. So now we proceed to the agenda. And before we get to the new business, Pramod has invited guests for our meeting that, although they didn't appear on the agenda, are just as important to our work at the Human Rights Commission. So Pramod, I would allow you now, please, to introduce your guests and let's have a discussion about what they're here for.
All right, here I am. Thank you, Don. Thank you for the floor. So we have today Chris and Carrie from the Mayor's Youth Council, and they have been recently formed and planning to do incredible work around West Hartford. And I believe that youths are the ones who's going to be and who are the future of this town. So I would like to give the floor to Carrie and Chris to share what they have in plan, and if there's anything that the Human Rights Commission can team up with to help them achieve their goals. Thank you.
Thanks, Pramod. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carrie Karp, and I'm the teen librarian at the West Hartford Libraries. And I'm the staff liaison to the Mayor's Youth Council, which is a group that started in September 2021. It's basically a group of 11 students from West Hartford public, private, and home schools who represent grades 9 through 12. And they're an ad hoc advisory group to the mayor. So they give the mayor and other town departments their opinions on issues that affect youth in West Hartford. They're also a group that is available to work with other boards and commissions in town so that they can collaborate with members of these groups and give them ideas on an as-needed basis. We have had some organizations email us, call me, looking to collaborate, and we are always open to do that. In order to be a member of the Mayor's Youth Council, the teens had to go through a competitive application process. So they filled out an application for us, they wrote a personal essay, and then they conducted interviews. And in their personal essays, each of them had to pick different issues affecting teens in West Hartford and explain how they would address those issues as members of the Mayor's Youth Council. The issues that the members talked about in their personal essays as being important to them were things like mental health, diversity and equity, recreational activities for teens, and homelessness and housing. So at our October meeting, we divided Mayor's Youth Council into 3 subcommittees. And each of these subcommittees took one of those ideas as their theme. And they're going to be working throughout the year trying to collaborate with town groups and trying to create action projects on these issues. So the 3 groups that we have are the Mental Health Action and Awareness Committee, the Teen Social Events Committee, and an International Night and Diversity Night Committee. So these subcommittees will be working independently throughout the year by meeting in Google Meet and in Discord to come up with different activities, services, and events for youth in West Hartford that they would like to do. So the team that we have with us today, who's a member of Mayor's Youth Council, is Chris, and Chris is from the International Night, Diversity Night subcommittee. So he can talk maybe a little bit about what his group has done so far, or some ideas of things that his Mayor's Youth Council group would like to do.
So we got the idea of this through like the fact that a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, there was already an event that was similar to this called Hello West Hartford, where like different communities would throughout West Hartford could be like invited to a event to celebrate like cultures, and there was cultural food and cultural activities like offered there. So what our idea is to create another one of those, but to include more like culturally owned businesses throughout West Hartford and like showcase all their different like cultural foods and stuff like that. So we are a 2-person subcommittee. So we have 2 members, me and one other member of Mayor's Council. We haven't had like an official meeting to like discuss all the plans yet, but we are planning to soon. And then yeah, that's the basic rundown of that one.
Yeah, we know that the Human Rights Commission a few years ago did an event as well. I believe it was like Human Rights Night or something like that. So we're thinking of modeling our International Night, Diversity Night, after something like that as well, where there would be different speakers, speeches, maybe a panel, things like that. But we're looking for different people, individuals, organizations within the community who might be good resources to help the Teens and Mayor's Youth Council come up with some kind of either small event or large event, or something else to celebrate the different nationalities and diversity of our town.
I'd like to introduce you to Sarah Raskin, who has many experiences, but chief among them is leading this commission and previous years and leading our Human Rights Declaration Day, because I think she might want to talk to you about and talk to all of us about how your group might be able to interact with us this year and future years.
So yeah, first I wanted to say I love this and I love everything. This is Sarah Raskin. I love everything that you are doing. I love these 3 subcommittees. I'm a psychologist and I'm happy to help out with the mental health subcommittee in any way that they might want. I think that this is completely up the alley of the Human Rights Commission. Speaking personally, we haven't discussed it as a commission, so I don't want to overstep my bounds, but it really feels completely up our alley. So feel free to reach out to us as a resource to support you in any way that feels helpful to you to have our support. We have done the annual celebration of the Universal Declaration for a few years now, and are happy to share with you any of those materials that might be helpful. You might be going in a different direction. I loved the Hello West Hartford. I was really sad when it stopped. That's a very different model from what we did and was wonderful. Like you said, it had food and dancing and all kinds of great stuff. So I totally support you in reaching out to them as well. I know Pramod knows them very well, Pepsi and them. But what Dawn was alluding to, and we can talk offline, is that this year's annual celebration of human rights for us is going to be virtual again, because we're just not feeling the anniversary date is December 10th. And we're just not feeling like at this point we can commit to an in-person event. So it's going to be virtual, but this year we are doing, this was Dawn's idea, which I think is wonderful. We are focusing on youth. And so we're getting one group from West Hartford Public Schools, which Dawn has already secured. But Dawn and I today were talking and saying that the Youth Council would be another great group. If each member of the Youth Council wanted to read one of the principles in the document, we would love to have you do it. We can talk offline about whether you want to video yourself or Dawn as a professional, if you want to have her video you. I'm volunteering you, Dawn. So we'd love to, if you feel like want to bring it back to the council and ask them if they could commit. I think you said there are 11 members. We would love to have all 11 read one of the principles and, introduce themselves as the youth council so people know who they are, and then read one of the principles. Okay, I think I'm done speaking.
Would anyone else like to ask a question of either Carrie or, go ahead, Ted. Please identify yourself.
Ted Mancini, Commissioner. Carrie, just a quick question. As for the kids that are chosen for this council, who makes the decision?
So that decision was made by librarians at the West Hartford Library, as well as a representative from the school system and one of the town council members. So
Who was which rep from the school system? Is it someone from the Board of Ed or is it someone from Central Planning?
It was from central office of Scott Ratchford.
Okay.
I believe he's also on the Equity and Diversity Council. And then for the town council, it was Carol Blanks. And then from the library, it was myself, Carrie Karp, and our director, Carol Waxman. And we also had Chris Dutton from the Bridge Family Center. So we had people.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So yeah, it was Chris Dutton, Scott Ratchford, Carrie Karp, Carol Waxman, and Carol Blanks.
Now, this is our new kids picked every year, or?
Yes, so each of the teens does a 1-year term. And then if they would like to, they can re-up for a second year, but it's a maximum of 2 years.
And the people that choose, the people may change, but it's still the same positions that do the choice?
Yes, so there'll be 11 positions. So if there's vacancies this year, there's several seniors in the group, those will become open. So next year, when people apply, they'll be applying for 5 different positions. Like if 5 seniors leave, then there'll be 5 openings for
Right, but
next year.
the same individuals, not necessarily the same people, but the same individuals who hold the same positions make the choices for who gets elected?
Do you mean adult? Are you talking about the
The
5
adults,
adults?
yeah. So the librarians, a rep from the school, it would be not necessarily
Yep,
the same
the
people,
same.
but those same positions.
Correct. Yeah, it'll be representatives from the library, the town, and then the schools.
Oh, okay.
So it could be anyone from town hall or anyone from the school system.
Right. Oh, so does it
Anyone.
necessarily have to be someone that's on the town council or just from town hall?
It could be from town hall, but this year we had a town council person who was interested, so
Okay.
that was kind of the rep for the town.
Right.
Because the Mayor's Youth Council, they will be working with these different organizations, so they could work with me and Promote at the library, different town organizations, and also they're publicizing things in the schools, so they're kind of touching all of these departments within the town.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question? This is Don Ennis, the co-chair. Aurora, you're recognized.
Oh, thank you, Don. This is Aurora Melita. Chris, I just wanted to take the time to ask you a question. I love that you've gotten involved with this council. I think that it's really important for us to be able to, when we talk about youth and their needs, to really hear directly from youth themselves. So I just wanted to hear from you a little bit as to, what gave you this drive to get involved and spend your evening with us, and I'm sure a lot at the council, and just why it's important to you and what you're hearing from your, from your peers.
So I've been an attendee of like a couple of the human rights, like, the events that you have organized, and I've like heard the speakers, and that's like a huge thing that like inspired me to like a council that like brings all these speakers into our town to speak about like things that have happened throughout the world. So that's one thing that like inspired me, and there's a few other members who tried to make it but could not from Mayor's Youth Council as well today. So I'm not the only one of us that was interested. That's another thing, yeah. And this is Chris Ramal. Is that how I end the?
That's fine, Chris. Thank you,
That's
both Aurora and
perfect.
Ted.
Yeah.
I have a question for Chris as well. My question is a little different. Chris, look ahead for us. Tell us, where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? What's your ambition? What do you hope to become?
So my main interest is within the computer science field. So in the next 5 years, I'm looking to be a sophomore at MIT, and I just want to go into software development in my actual future.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other questions for Chris?
I just wanna say, excellent choice. My child has just gotten a job for right after they graduate as a software engineer, and it pays really well.
I heard computers are really cool. Yeah. All right. Unless there are other questions, I'm going to say thank you to Carrie and to, do I pronounce it right? Is Carrie or Kari?
Carrie.
Can
Carrie,
I
and
just,
yes, correct. Oh, Sarah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're recognized.
no, that's okay. Sorry, this is Sarah Raskin. I just want to know if you had any questions for us, Chris. Or
Oh, that's a
Carrie.
good question.
Yeah, no, oh, go ahead, Chris.
You can go, Ms. Carp. I was just gonna say that I don't have any specific questions.
Yeah, no, I don't have any specific questions, but I'm just excited to hear that people might be interested in kind of being mentors or sounding boards to this committee. It's Chris and Zara, and you actually have another member now, Chris Keiko. So there's actually 3 people on this committee. They haven't really met yet to flesh out their ideas, but it's a teen-led group, so they're going to come up with their own ideas. So it's just great that there's adults in the community who might want to hear what they want to do and can possibly help them bring the ideas to fruition. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to us and get to know a little bit about Mayor's Youth Council and what we're doing.
Thank you, Carrie. Ted, you're recognized.
Ted Mancini again. One last question. Are these meetings public? Is there any kind of notification as to when they are, where they are, anything like that? Are they open to the public?
Yes, so if you go on the town website under government boards and commissions, we do have our own page there for Mayor's Youth Council. So we have our agendas, our minutes. The meetings aren't public in that there's not like a public hearing or people can't speak at our meetings at this point, but we do live stream them on YouTube. So you can watch our meetings. The next one is going to be November 23rd, which is a Tuesday night from 6:30 to 7:30. So you're invited to watch.
Thank you for that. And Ted, thank you for that question. Aurora, please make a note in our minutes that that is the next meeting, and she shall. Thank you. Thumbs up. I want to say thank you to both Carrie and to Chris. You can find all of our emails on the town website. So please do reach out to us. I think we'd all love to be mentors in some way or fashion. And we do look forward to possible working together on an item we're going to talk about later in the agenda about the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. And for now, you're welcome to either stick around or take your cameras off or quit the meeting. It's up to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye now. Take care. All right. So now if I can find it, the agenda. Our first order of business is the Town of Compassion. We're looking for an update from Sarah Raskin.
So I think I sent around to everybody. I created a Google form, and I'd love any comments or suggestions or edits. If anybody wants me to send it again, I can throw it in the chat. But if it looks okay for you, then I think we need to talk about timeline. So when do I want to put on the form that they're due? And where do we want to advertise it? So I think we had talked already about the idea of having Renee send something out when she sends the emails to everyone who's registered for the town emails. We can take advantage of the now several town Facebook groups. But if there's other ways that people think we should disseminate it, I think we should do any and all suggestions that people have. So, so I'm listening.
The floor is open.
Sorry, you're going to watch me duck. I need to plug my computer in, but I'm listening.
While Sarah is ducking, and I'm sure that there are probably lots of goodies underneath that table. That's what she's doing. She's getting Halloween candy. I'd like to just say that this has been a year-long frustrating process of trying to get this thing going. And I'm still unclear, personally, whether the town is committed as much as we are to getting this done. So my question actually is for Sarah to say, what signal do we have from the town that this actually is going to happen?
I don't think I'm the person to ask. It was Adrian that last had the contact with Sherry. So I had sort of let it drop. And then it was Sherry that reached out to Adrian and said, hey, we need to make this happen. Here's what we're going to do. I can reach out to Sherry, to Mayor Cantor. Looks like she's still Mayor Cantor.
And we'll probably be Mayor Cantor, yes.
If people would like before we move forward, I'm open.
I'd like to move that if you would please reach out to Mayor Cantor. I saw her today running around trying to pick up signs from lawns and desperately trying to reach that button on the back of her SUV that closes the door. I went to pull over to help her and she jumped up and reached it, so I didn't have to do that. So let's have you reach out, please.
Right over there, yeah.
Yeah, reach out please to the mayor to ask her for an update, and we can communicate via email so that by our next meeting in December, we can actually have a plan going forward. I don't think we need to do anything tonight unless someone else feels. Oh, Aurora, go ahead. You're recognized.
I just wanted to add that, Sarah, I checked out the link and I shared it in our group chat as well. I thought that the form looked great for the Town of Compassion Awards. So whenever, you know, those next steps are figured out, I think it's great to move forward with the form. And I don't know if we want to at least take some kind of action on the form or not. Just if everybody's in agreement that once we know the dates and things, if we want to just post it and move forward with it.
So yeah,
Yeah, I
think
would agree with that. Sure.
I like, thank you so much, Aurora, for finding it and posting it so quickly. You're amazing. Yeah, so maybe we can imagine that I mean, Sherry's not going to have any headspace to talk to anybody for a few days, I imagine, but
Good point.
but let's imagine that I talk to her on Monday. And she says, yes, we want to go forward. Do we want to frame out? I mean, obviously we're not going to have this for December 10th, I'm assuming, but do we want to frame out a time frame? Is there a time of year we think is good to put it out there, a time of year to collect it? Yeah, Aurora.
Sorry.
Aurora first and then Ted. Go
Aurora
ahead.
Melita. Sorry. I think it might be fun to do it as like a New Year's kind of thing, like the beginning of the year. And that kind of keeps it tied a little closer to the December original goal.
Thank you. And Ted?
My suggestion was going to be, why don't we just, since we're not going to be able to hit the deadlines anyway, and we're still grasping for information, why don't we just nix it and then use Adrian as our contact, since she'll be sympathetic to our cause and probably help us out that much more. And that way we can go into it with actual forethought for next year.
I like Ted's idea mainly because I think Ace will also respond probably swifter than Sherry can. No offense to the mayor.
Yeah, she'll be compassionate to our needs. I mean, she'll help out. So,
anyone have an objection to Ted's suggestion? I like that.
A very good idea.
Okay, good. So,
like
Sarah, would you be okay with that?
Yeah. So I think what I'll do, if everybody agrees, is write an email to Sherry and Ace simultaneously, remind them both of their, previous involvement, suggest that we're aiming for December 2022, and ask them what next steps are.
Right. And if they say they really want it now, we're going to have to do something else to move. I do like Aurora's suggestion about it being the first of the year or thereafter. Either way works. We need to know which direction to go in and not to just go blindly. So thank you. Second order of business is something that we discussed a little bit ago, and Sarah and I have been working on the last week. I did some private communication with principals I know in West Hartford Public Schools to try and follow up on my suggestion that we have students read the human rights articles and preamble. When I didn't get anywhere and we were coming close to the deadline last Friday, I reached out to the board superintendent, the school superintendent, and his officers, and I got a response on Monday. And they have agreed to take on this project, but only in pieces. So let me just tell you what they said. They proposed that the articles, at least, how many did we say, Sarah? 20? I think there's 30 articles altogether.
They're doing 10, and I understand. So the Sarah Raskin. So the idea was, I think, that they picked articles that they were comfortable that West Hartford Public School had officially given to students to read. So I think they were just being careful not to give students things to read that might be deemed by parents to be inappropriate in some way.
And there are elementary, middle, and high school students involved. I can share with you once this meeting is concluded the entire email, but it's basically a commitment to do at least 10 of the 30 articles. They're going to record them the week of November 15th and the third week of November, and they will actually edit, close caption, and title each recording, and so we can put it together with other students. So there'll be 10 recordings, leaving us 20 others. Sarah had led on this effort to also include students from our School of the Deaf, students who are foreign exchange students, and other students who are otherwise, exceptional that we want to include. Sarah, I'll let you take it from there.
Sure. So with the Mayor's Youth Council of 11, that brings us to 21 out of 30. And then I had reached out to AFS, who have been incredibly enthusiastic in the past of participating. And so they have identified 7 students for us. And then, as Dawn said, in the past, I've reached out to ESOL and Strive and the American School for the Deaf, just to sort of reach students who teachers might not necessarily be reaching out to, and who bring diversity and can read in other languages and all that. So I think we're going to easily now, Dawn, with these 11, we'll get to 30 pretty quickly. And I'm pretty excited, actually, that the Mayor's Youth Council will be represented. I think that that's Promote is waving.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's going to talk in a second. I wanted you to finish your sentence, though.
Okay.
But we're excited. Yes.
I'm excited.
Pramod, you'll be next.
So the only other thing I was going to say is, but actually I think we're fine. When I thought we couldn't get to 30, I was going to say, do we want to do like a senior center with the youth? Because I believe in diversity of ages as well as
Sure.
every other form of diversity. But I think we're good to just focus on youth. I think we're there. Okay.
And I think if we had to, we could also ask their teachers to record 1 or 2. I mean, if we're short. Pramod, you had a question or a thought?
Yeah, I came to know, a couple of weeks ago, there are very active youths from Donate Life that's in West Hartford. And I can reach out to them, and we may have 5 or 6 of them, to read the thing. So I will share that with Sarah and the contact person for that.
I'm 100% in favor of it. I just don't know what Donate Life is. Can you tell us a little bit about that organization?
That's for organ donations. They go around, promoting organ donations. So
Well, that's a great thing.
yeah.
So that's wonderful. All right.
They were actually
I
at
could-
the,
Well,
sorry,
That's fine,
I'm saying,
sir. Go ahead. I'll go ahead.
the
Yeah.
Gay Pride
Yeah,
rally.
Sarah, you finish that, Ted, next. Ted, go ahead. You're recognized.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just curious. Why do we focus, or what is the importance of the UN human rights articles and preamble for this council?
Sarah, would you like to respond?
Sure, we're the Human Rights Commission.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, why necessarily the UN human rights articles and preamble? Why not the Constitution? I'm just curious. I've always been curious about that, actually.
Because we're the Human Rights Commission and it's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Okay,
the
so our
Constitution. Mhm.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, I mean, the Constitution has things that maybe relate to human rights, but the Universal Declaration of Human Rights really is the document globally that lays out what we mean when we say human rights.
Okay, so basically, and I think this is the answer I was looking for. So what you're stating is the UN Declaration of Human Rights is the guiding principles for this committee.
I think it's certainly the guiding principles for the people that created this commission when it was first created. I think that we have the autonomy to move our commission in whatever direction the commissioners deem. But it certainly was the founding principles on which this commission, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but as I recall, it's the founding principles on which this commission and the other commissions across the state was formed.
And this is Dawn as co-chair. I'm sorry, Ted, did you want to respond?
No, go ahead, Don. Yeah.
I was going to say that my experience with other human rights commissions, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a future agenda item, is that this is a pretty much a standard thing. It's sort of like the way public school students pledge allegiance. Human rights commissions generally observe the signing of the Human Rights Declaration on December 10th, right, Sarah? Because it is a significant moment in planet Earth. It's not just our United States. And of course, it doesn't supersede or take away from our U.S. Constitution. It's just something that people of the Earth can all look to and say that human rights are important. The Constitution specifically is aimed at the rights of citizens of the United States, and by involving students who are foreign exchange students and other students, and being an international community of people who seek citizenship here, we show respect for those people by making it a United Nations item rather than a United States American only item.
Very well said. This is Eric. Very well said, Don.
Thank you, Eric. Ted, I'm sorry, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Oh, no. I was just, that's fine. I was just, it's been a curiosity of mine ever since I joined the committee. So I figured since we were talking about it, I'd ask the question.
Absolutely. And it's a good question to ask. And I think that one of the things that I was surprised to see was that I was in some offices recently where we were negotiating a new contract for unionized teachers at the University of Hartford, where I teach, and the law office for the people who represented the university had on its walls the Declaration of Human Rights. I thought that was, quite significant for a private law firm to single that out as something that they would put on its walls. You think the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, something like that, and there it was. I just think that's interesting. Any other questions about this? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you. Commissioner profiles. I had the great pleasure last month of interviewing Essam Bore, and this is a person who I got to say, I don't know anyone like him, and I'm looking forward to finishing this. I've been working on it for weeks, but I've just had so many going on in the news that I haven't finished it yet. It's almost there. I wanted to let you know that those of you who did provide video profiles, those will be included on our website, but I'm mostly looking to just continue with written profiles. So I have mine written. I have Essam's 90% written. I was hoping to file it before this meeting tonight, but I did not get to it. So anyone who hasn't, I know there are only a few of us who haven't, please get that to me this week if you can. It'd be great to be able to kick off the beginning of November with an updated website that has everyone's profiles. If anyone has a question, or if they would like me to interview them the way I interviewed Essam, I'd be happy to do that interview and provide you with a copy of my written interview before it's posted, so you get to edit or say, I don't want that in there, or I want to change something.
Thank you. So this is Chair. Thank you so much, Don, for helping me with this. It was great help. So I really appreciate it. Thank you so
Fascinating
much.
to talk to you. I don't know anyone like you, and I think that's a benefit to all of us that we have someone of your experience with us. So I'm going to move on to Essam again to talk about Facebook Live meetings. We
Can I
hope
just-
to provide a draft. I haven't had a chance to talk to Essam about this, to full disclosure.
I just wanted to say really
Yes.
quickly, Essam is amazing,
yeah.
and I
Oh,
just want to recognize that.
I second that.
This is Eric. Is a transcript of the interview available?
Essam's transcript, I can do that. I will provide that with Essam's permission. Essam, do you have a objection to me providing the full transcript?
No, not at all. No.
How about I show it to you first, and then you can say this is okay, or take out this line or two.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I'll send you both the finished version and the transcript, and then you can decide. How's that?
You guys make me blush. So thank you.
Eric, you should also know that there are multiple Hartford Current articles written about him. So if you wanted to Google in the Current, you will be amazed by what you find.
And an article he wrote in January this year about his experience in the Arab Spring. So there's a lot of stuff out there. Thank you.
Yeah,
anything else about profiles? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is Eric. I only briefly got to ask him about himself at Pride, and so I'd definitely like to hear more.
Excellent. Anything else about profiles? And Takesha, just so you know, what we're looking for is just a paragraph or two or three about your background, who you are, where you live, how long you lived here, why do you want to be on the Human Rights Commission, and if there's something notable about your past, that's something interesting. You can include.
Sorry, I just have to do this. Takesha also is amazing, and it would be very hard for her to get everything notable about her into a paragraph or two, but I'll be curious.
Well, I'm fine if it's 6 paragraphs. I'm only suggesting that you shouldn't have to write a ton, but Takesha, I second what Sarah said. You have an amazing background, and I was so pleased to meet you when we did the Human Rights Declaration last year. And you can look at what Aurora and Kristen did.
It's embarrassing, but thank you.
Oh, no, we're not here to embarrass you. But look at what other people have done, and if it's not posted yet, I'll make sure it is. Anything else? I'm going to move on otherwise. Essam, would you tell us about our Facebook meeting thing?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Don. This is Essam. So I'm sure I hope you guys get my email about the list. So I shared the Google Docs with you with the list of organizations. So I hope you guys will be able to see what we have there. I tried to arrange a few names, also some duplicates and stuff like that. So I tried to do that. So hopefully you will get a chance to check the list, add any more names and contact information if you have. And then once that's done, we will start reaching out to them and come up with the calendar for everything and share the calendar with you and ask if you would be interested to join us. And we'll go from there. I think that's all the updates I have. So I hope you guys get my my list.
Any questions for Issam about this? Hearing none, I'm moving forward. Kristen gets the Meeting Trooper of the Month award because even though she's out sick, she sent an email with an update for her item, which is about Let's Meet Folks. And here's what Kristen wrote. She got an email from the West Hartford Civilian Police Review Board. I had to figure out what WHCPRB meant. Committee Chair Alinda Morales wrote, I can speak about the very basics as the West Hartford Civilian Police Review Board hasn't had any cases so far. We haven't had any experiences yet. We haven't finished our training yet. Wouldn't it be better to wait till February or March? I understand that there are a couple of cases coming to us soon. And that's a message from Olinda. I personally think that it's fine to wait unless the commission or commissioners, you all have a urgent desire to hear from them while they're still in the formation process. All right, I would just move then, or if I can get a motion from someone, I guess I can't make motions, right? Will someone move that we postpone this till our February meeting?
So moved.
Thank you, Pramod. And Ted, will you second that?
I'll second it then, sure.
Thank you very much. All right, move to February and we'll deal with it then. That sounds great. All right, the next agenda item, where am I? Oh my goodness. School resource officer. We're supposed to discuss and identify the list of potential speakers educated on the topic to invite and present at a Human Rights Commission meeting in an effort to gain a better education on the topic for the commissioners. So, who would like to take the lead on this? This is about the value of having school resource officers.
So I just wanted to say that Jillian Gilchrist is hosting such a forum, and I recommend that those of us who are interested merely attend that one.
I would like to forward that, 1 second, Aurora and Takesha.
Unless
I will forward that email with the Jillian thing to our commission so we can all have that information. Aurora first, then Takesha.
Hi, Aurora Melita here. So, you know, we all wear many hats, right? Myself, I'm a lobbyist, and one of my clients is the Connecticut Justice Alliance, and we're the ones that are actually partnering with Representative Gilchrist for this SRO conversation in West Hartford. So I will be there in my capacity as their lobbyist. So I'm happy if anybody does have any questions, I'm more than happy to kind of share information. You know, as somebody that represents the Alliance, I have some background that they've put together in regards to studies that have been done for SROs in schools. Just wanted to share that, disclose that.
Sorry, thank you, Aurora. Takesha, you're next.
Hi, Takesha Everett here. So is the notification around Representative Gilchrist's forum on this to indicate that we should not be moving forward for speakers coming in this forum, or is it encouraging us to go to that to become informed and think about how we do something more localized with our people in West Hartford? I'm just trying to get a sense of which way we're going. Thanks.
Sarah Raskin, I'm open to Keisha, but where I was coming from was the latter, that we start with this since it's already organized, and it might give us a better sense of what we'd like to do as the next step.
Takesha, before you joined us, I think there was a discussion, it might be in the minutes, about school resource officers based on a meeting we had with the chief of police, and about their value and about whether they add or detract from the school experience for students, whether they are necessary and whether they are something that the police department and the school system should continue. Our job as Human Rights Commission isn't to make that decision, but to review thoughts on the matter and to then present our thoughts as a commission to the bodies involved, which would be the West Hartford Public Schools and the police department. I for one, I'm just going to be full disclosure here. I'm the daughter of a police officer. I'm also white, and I see the value of having an officer having covered Sandy Hook. I think that it's important that we have police officers, not armed teachers, but armed police officers in our schools. However, I'm white, and I also know from the students who are not white, who I teach at college, what their experiences have been like with school resource officers in high school and elementary and in middle schools, and they were not positive. And I hear about this all the time.
And this is Sarah Raskin. I just would like to, I totally respect and validate your perspective, Don, but I just would like to bring us back to data rather than anecdotes. Although I will admit that I first became interested in this topic because of anecdotes from my kids who told me about extremely negative experiences they had with the West Hartford SROs, including just horrible slurs that were used against trans students and other students. And so that's how I first became interested. But then I looked into some of the research because there is some really good, solid, that Aurora can speak to, research just specifically for the state of Connecticut on the school to prison pipeline. And the fact that schools with SROs are much more likely to have kids who enter the carceral system than schools that don't.
Thank you, Sarah. This is Don Ennis, co-chair. Ted, you're recognized.
Ted Mancini. Two things. One, with that email for Jillian, has a link to sign in. Do you have to put your name on the list? I mean, is it open or you have to register to go? Go ahead, Aurora.
Let's hear from
Aurora Melita here. So there is, thank you, Don. Aurora here. So you do have to RSVP. That is kind of the process that a lot of the legislators are using when they do in district events, just given that we're in the middle of COVID. It's a way to anticipate just the number of people to make sure that they have appropriate capacity for the room. So if you do want to attend, you do have to RSVP on that link.
Ted?
My other statement, actually, not a question. Just like Dawn, I have two kids that have gone through the school system and one that's still in the school system. And I asked my son, who isn't, not the biggest fan. He's very just neutral on the subject, but he's not the biggest fan. He's not someone that's going to tell you he wants SROs or anything like that. So I asked him, I said, hey, there's discussion about getting rid of SROs in the schools. What do you think? He started laughing. He goes, Dad, you get rid of the SROs, it's going to be Lord of the Flies. I said, okay. I said, one of the things that I was told was that they said, Sarah, I think this is coming from the last meeting where you said, I don't know if the chief of police or the superintendent said about, they hear about things, hear about fights that are going to happen, and they stop them before they happen. And I told him that. He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, I can tell you that that's happened. He goes, I know of a couple different occasions where kids wanted to jump me, kids wanted to jump my friends. Said, I went to the SRO and told them straight out, listen, this is what I'm hearing, this is what's going to happen. So you can either handle it now, or when they try to jump me, I'll handle it on my own. So the comment from the kids that I've talked to in the schools is, if you want to get rid of the SROs, you're going to have Lord of the Flies, and we're going to be partially responsible for what happens in the schools.
Thank you, Ted. Anyone else like to comment?
Yes,
this is
Takesha Everett. I just want to bring us back to the topic of how we move forward and handle this. And I think I was on the last meeting we had, first time on the commission, and I know even as tonight we have varying opinions related to SROs and opinions that we rightfully have from wherever our backgrounds are from. I think it is great that we go to the event, the representative Gilchrist is putting forward. And then I think we should have a conversation that involves a multitude of stakeholders hearing this from a variety of aspects about what's happening in West Hartford. And perhaps even contextualizing that into Connecticut and then making a recommendation from there. Because I think if we start with at least a platform where we're all on the same level of information that we have, and we can add our personal opinion and thoughts to it, I think we can make a more robust recommendation going forward. That's all I have to say.
Takesha, I think you said it best. I would, if that was a motion, I would second it only in terms of we really can't identify right now which speakers we'd want to hear from because we need to hear and see more information. So unless someone has an objection, I would say that attendance at the meeting should be strongly advised, and we can share information, of course, in our email chat, but we should definitely make it an agenda item for Aurora to note for the December meeting, unless anyone objects. Yes, Sarah.
So I totally support. I think Takesha, you are right on with this. Aurora, I had seen a report that I think was the juvenile justice folks out of New Haven, where they had actually collected a lot of data on the effects of SROs in different schools. And I'm wondering if you know where that is and if it would be helpful to share that with the commission to do a little bit of a reading on that background. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I can search it out, but I was thinking you might just know.
Aurora?
Aurora Melita here. Yes, Sarah, I am familiar with that information. I'm happy to distribute it to the commission. I mean, I'm also very aware that we have varying opinions and thoughts and background and knowledge on the issue. So I would love to kind of start with the event that Representative Gilchrist is holding, and also would like to share that the Alliance, they hold these events called vision sessions where they give a fictional scenario to a group of people where there's, an SRO is in a school and there is something that happens. And then they do breakout discussions where people can kind of share, like they can kind of talk about how they feel the best way to address a situation is. And they give background on, family background, history, the history of access to food and supports for these individuals in these scenarios as well. So it's a really holistic way of looking at the situation. And then you kind of talk through it. And the Alliance has shared with me that they have found that these kind of fictional scenarios make it easier for people to talk about this very complex kind of emotional issue, right? So I just wanted to share a little bit about kind of how the event is going to be organized, and I'm happy to share the information. I also understand that, the Connecticut Justice Alliance is, their mission is to end the criminalization of youth within the state. So, that in itself, other people may have varying thoughts on that. So if we build our base with some of the knowledge, I think it's also important to hear from police officers as well, is basically what I'm getting at. And I will share, I am a lobbyist for the Alliance, but personally, my lobbyist hat aside, I don't feel comfortable with the idea of SROs in schools. I don't feel that the philosophy and the understanding that we should take towards violence is having somebody present with a gun, whether they're a police officer or not. So that's just my personal thoughts. And I just wanted to share because I'm happy that everybody is willing to kind of share their personal thoughts, because I know it can be hard when we disagree, but it's important to have these conversations. And I would really like to try to find a way forward, because we have talked about this about 4 or 5 times now, and we don't really have a plan of action, right? We're kind of getting closer to it. But I do think it's important to hear from community organization, from teachers, and from police officers. How we do that, and if we're all willing to take the time to do that, is up to the commission, I think. But I just wanted to share that.
Sorry, Sarah Raskin. I totally agree with you, Aurora. I really like the way that you're framing it, and Takesha framed it that way too, that we hear from multiple stakeholders. I'd also be curious, and not to put you on the spot, Aurora, I know that there are many schools who don't have SROs. It's not that it's a universal thing. And so I'm very concerned, Ted, with your notion that somehow kids in West Hartford are worse than other kids, that here in West Hartford, it would be Lord of the Flies, whereas in other towns, they seem to do okay without them. So I'd really like to explore a little bit more what's going on in the West Hartford schools that leads us to need an SRO in a way that other schools don't.
Please.
It's not, I mean, it is my opinion, but my statement is actually not my opinion. My statement comes from individuals who are actually involved in the school. They go to the school. And I'm not sure as to anybody on this committee, how many of you have children who are actually in the West Hartford Public Schools? How about at what level? At high school level?
I have a 15-year-old as a sophomore at Hall. Eric?
Okay.
This is Eric, I have a fifth grader.
Yeah. So this is not, and again, it is my opinion because it's what I believe, but my statement comes from people who live it every day.
So just to remind you, Ted, that I first came up with this issue because my kids at Hall High School were complaining about people being treated poorly by the SROs.
Okay.
So
And
different kids have different experiences. That's all.
right. And it also, don't forget, just because they keep trying to lump Conard and Hall together because they're both in West Hartford, they are two totally different experiences, two totally different demographics.
Yeah, and I can report something that Principal Dan Zatoon of Hall High School told me, something I would not have guessed. Believe it or not, of the two high schools, Hall has the greater percentage of people of color. And I would have thought it was Conard, but it's not true. Takesha, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, so this is Takesha Everett. I think there is what's the word I want to use? I think it's really important with this issue that there are a lot of levels to it. I think there is the historical understanding of how we came to SROs in schools. I think there's the connectivity, as you've mentioned, Aurora, from the prison to pipeline. All of those things I think are important. I think that there are extremes on the continuum and there's middle ground as well. I do think, I personally do not have children. I don't have children in the West Hartford school system, so A and B. I do remember what it was like to be in high school and the benefit we had, but at that time, we did not have police officers. And I'm new to this term SRO because I don't even know that we called the person who was in our school that, but they didn't have guns. They weren't police officers, and they still were able to serve the role that I'm hearing many of you talk about in terms of how they are today. I just think that grounding our conversation in first understanding what's happening in Connecticut generally and the challenge of why this is even a discussion, and also pairing it with lived experiences from the people who are both teaching in the school, who are attending the school, and who are parents of students, just getting a better understanding of it, I think helps us to get to the best recommendation going forward. Because I just know personally, all of my experience on this conversation is going to come outside of West Hartford. And I would really like to base it, while my moral position and my personal position is probably broader and would probably apply in West Hartford, I would just really like to have a better sense about what's happening here in our town.
Ted, I'm going to give you the floor in a second. I just wanted to add that we didn't have police officers at my high school in Long Island. We had nuns with rulers. So believe me, nobody ever dared to do anything wrong. But that's just a joke aside. Ted and Eric, I think you also have your hand up. So Ted first.
We had SROs, but we didn't have SROs on a daily basis. They were someone that came in every now and then. But the difference between now and then, Takesha, and I understand what you're saying, the big difference between now and then is the security guards or the individuals you're talking about back then could do different things that they are not allowed to do now. The only ones that can do certain things are actual police officers. If you need to physically restrain someone, you need to do anything that's physical, anything whatsoever, only a police officer can do that, not the security guards. Whereas when we were in school, the security guards could do that. That's a big difference now.
Eric.
This is Eric. So kind of taking a step backwards and looking at it more broadly. I want to bring up 2 points. So first, when I was a child, DARE was a big program in schools, and all the data on that showed that it had absolutely no effect on students not taking drugs. But what it did do as an unintended benefit was dramatically increase the comfort of a large portion of students with police officers. It allowed a huge amount of students to give a favorable opinion and feel more trusting of police officers. So while we're looking at the negatives of what might happen, we should also look at the positives of what type of association is it bringing and take a look at that. So we even have to go backwards a bit, in my opinion, to look at that. And also, in terms of the officer that Sarah, you were talking about, your children reported that a lot of negative things were coming. We also have to evaluate, did we get a bad apple as the SRO? Is this an officer that has had trouble in other areas? Is this an officer that constantly got complaints no matter what post they had? Or is this more of a general indictment on the position? So that would be something which would be important to evaluate as well, so we can really get a full perspective on it.
So
And
Sarah,
go
I'll
ahead, Sarah,
just
go
say
ahead.
really quickly that I reject the bad apple argument ever when we're talking about the police. I think it's a dangerous argument to make. And if Hall High School is going to hire somebody who has a history of bad behavior and then not respond to students' complaints about bad behavior, then I see that as a systemic problem. Then it's no longer about that officer, right? It's about Hall High School and the school system being willing to retain somebody that they know has a history of bad behavior, and or that they know that students are complaining about. So I think anytime you try to just blame one individual, I would suggest that we step back and look at the systemic issues that allowed that individual to thrive.
I didn't say that we
Keisha.
blame
Oh,
anyone.
sorry, Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, she did invoke me, as
Please,
they say
Eric.
during the
Please,
debate.
Eric.
I was invoked.
Please, Eric, no,
the
go
question
ahead.
is, I certainly wasn't blaming anyone or saying it was just him. I would just want to say, let's evaluate that individual and look, was this individual also a problem elsewhere in other settings, or is this a unique thing? So just a gathering more data issue.
Sarah, do you want to respond to that before I go to Takesha? Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Sarah. Takesha, please.
Two things respectfully, Don. I think Assam has his hand up, and then I think I would be after Assam.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's so good to have you looking at Isam's hand, and I see it now because I'm blind. Isam, please speak.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thanks to Keisha. Thank you. And this is a summary. So I would just want to add to this conversation that I did grow up in a school system where we had militant gun people with gun in our school system. I also have to say the context is different, but still we never felt secure, and the students, we never felt that it was helping us in any way, shape, or form. And in the exact contrary, that we always felt that's like it's not safe. We're always anxious, and we are teenagers, we kids, we couldn't function well, and we always felt very uncomfortable every time we were in school, and we had to be outside of the school to be able to feel normal and feel kids, and feel like we can do something, despite all of the arguments that those people in the school just to protect us and make sure we feel safe and feel secure and everything. And did the exact opposite thing. This is from a personal experience. I went through that, and I can speak with authority to this topic that did not make anyone feel comfortable or safe. Beside this, as I mentioned before, I did write a paper about this that I did share with the town manager before, as part of my education in graduate school, and all data shows that it's not helpful. So thank you for recognizing me again, and that's just wanted to add that personal experience to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Isam. And I also want to introduce Takesha because she's revealed to us that despite having a school person who was there to secure the school, there was a knife fight that ended in a death. So Takesha, please go ahead.
Sure. I mean, I think that I forgot and neglected to say that as a part of the story connected to this. And I also appreciate Ted adding flavor to this and why I think it's important that we go to the event, because I was not under the impression or understanding that at this point SROs had to be police officers. And I do think that brings a different color into this. But again, I just really will benefit I'm benefiting from this conversation. So thank you. And will benefit greatly from, hopefully, I'm hoping I can attend the event that Representative Gilchrist is doing, because I think it'll be valuable to understand kind of how we got here. And I will just echo again what I said about our person. Again, I'm curious as to whether we called them an SRO or not, but we know things will happen with them present or without them. And I think the question just comes down to me, what are we trying to prevent and what are we hoping to accomplish? But I think those are longer term things that I can understand better once I have a better grasp of this. And Aurora, I invite you sharing any material that I can read more on the situation that comes from your client. Thank you. Dawn, I think you're on
Don,
mute.
you're on mute.
I want a shirt that says, "You're on mute." Sorry, I was in several other tabs. Takesha and Ted and Aurora and Eric and Sarah, I think Isam also, I think we all have a variety of opinions, and we are not at the stage where we can discuss who we want to hear from, but only that we do want to go forward. But to Aurora's point that this is an ongoing thing that we've been talking about forever and ever and ever, I'd like to propose that in the minutes we have a discussion high on the agenda for next meeting to call for speakers. And if we want to, I'd be okay with having that discussion in our email group so that we can have those speakers at the next meeting. Whichever of those two paths seems the best, I'm in favor of.
Why don't we try to get
Everybody's
the
not.
speakers? Well, when is the next meeting? Beginning of
December, Pramod, what do you think? Do you know? It's on the website.
So it's probably the first Wednesday in December.
The first Wednesday in December, whenever that is.
Yeah.
December 1st.
December
Okay.
1st. Takesha, thank you.
That's all I was gonna say.
You did great.
Yeah, why don't we do what we can to get speakers then? And if
Okay.
we can't swing it, then that leaves us open to be able to do it in January.
Great. I think that's a wonderful, Ted. Does anyone second Ted's motion? Sarah, sorry, you want to say something first?
I was going to say the opposite. I feel like we shouldn't rush this. I feel like we really need to spend a little time and thought about who we want to invite and what kinds of stakeholders and from where. And as we've seen tonight, this is a very complicated issue with a lot of different facets to it. So I'm happy to do it in December if it happens, but I would like to just suggest that we not feel that we have to rush to just grab whoever happens to be available. And if somebody says, oh, I can't make it that night, we just say, oh, well, we'll just go ahead without them. I think we should just do a careful process if we're going to do this.
I would agree that we have to be deliberative, but I do also think that we've been holding back on this, and we should move forward with all due speed if we can, because our children are, even if you're not a parent, even if you're not someone who has children in our schools, our town's children are an important resource that we are showcasing in our Human Rights Declaration and safeguarding all of them. And that doesn't mean with police, it means just safeguarding them and their experiences, I think is important. So I would like to just move forward with at least an attempt to line up speakers and to abide by Sarah's very good caution that we not rush, but we deliberate and discuss offline in our meetings, in the computer, in email, who we have to speak. Aurora, did you want to speak or second or anything? Okay.
I was Aurora here. I was just seconding what Ted said.
Okay.
But I also understand where Sarah is coming from. So I'm happy to discuss through email, share information, and if we all decide on speakers to reach out to, and one of them or many of them happen to be available for our next December meeting, wonderful. And if not, we can, focus on January, or, push it out if need be. But if we do discuss, like we're planning on through email, potential speakers, and we're all in agreement and they happen to be available in December, then we can, I think it's okay to book that.
Great. I think it might be a good idea for the peace of mind of everyone that we first discuss names before we individually reach out to anyone. To first say, we want to talk to X, and then we all either agree or disagree, and then we can say, well, if we all agree, then we will then ask that person if they're available and when, and then we can decide December, January. How's that sound?
This is Sarah. Yeah, I totally agree, Don. I think that that makes sense because I think we want to have a well-rounded slate. So we want to be looking at all the different stakeholders and making sure that they're represented rather than, again, you know, oh, this person was available, this person isn't available. We've ended up with 4 people from the Juvenile Justice Department and nobody from the police or whatever it is.
Right. We want to be balanced and we want to have all views represented. So I think we'll go forward with that plan unless there are any objections. All right. I'm about to tell you all about something I did. This is the Connecticut Human Rights Conference October event. So let me see if I can find that again. I was invited, well, we all were invited actually, to meet with the Connecticut Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, CHRO, in partnership with the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. It was the first statewide human rights conference, and it was held October 28th. It ran all day. I only appeared at the morning one about HRCs, about human rights commissions. There was one simultaneously about people like me, transgender folks, and there were other things that were going on all day. What I want to share with you is that I didn't go there representing me. I went there representing us. Although I did talk a little bit about my experience, and I actually used the CHRO to facilitate a lawsuit against the West Hartford business that had discriminated against me. So I mentioned that. But the Human Rights Commission work was what was the main topic. And Waterbury, particularly, is having a lot of trouble getting its town leaders to listen to them. It's like they just don't want to even hear from them. They can't get them to come to meetings. They can't get them to respond to emails. And there was a widespread feeling that human rights commissions were mostly ignored, that they were created and then put aside. What I offered is that we've created these ideas that we have not yet come to fruition, but the Facebook Live, the fact that we have people like tonight having speakers come, the fact that we've invited people of faith, we've worked together to try and create more opportunities for other commissions within our government to help us understand what they do. I was asked specifically about what we do when someone complains. My answer was that anyone can email any of us, and then we can then present through email or at the next meeting that person's complaint and decide what to do with it. To my knowledge, that hasn't happened very often, not in the 2 years I've been part of this, year and a half, whatever it is. I was asked about disability. What do we do about people with disabilities? And we're one of the few towns that actually has a separate commission just for people who are disabled, which people in this commission conference found fascinating. I mentioned, not by name, but I described how very diverse we are. I said that we have people who have a conservative background and a progressive background. We have people of different races, different ethnicities, different skin colors, different faiths, and that we are always respectful and mindful of each other's different backgrounds. And the one commonality I found was that other conferences, other commissions had both conservative and progressives, but not the diversity that I see here in front of me on WebEx. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that we show such a wide selection of members of our community. And I invited those folks who are on those commissions to contact us for potential collaboration, to meet with them, to help them get their politicians in line. I think we're very lucky to have the ear of so many town councilors and our mayor. So that was my report. And if there's any questions about that, I'll answer them. Otherwise, we're going to move on. Great.
Sarah, I just want to say
Sarah?
thank you. Thank you so much for representing us and doing that.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. I do want to say that the next item on the agenda, I've got to be honest, I don't even remember saying we should talk about it because I got nothing. It's about slavery reparations. I don't have an update on this. If anyone else does, please speak up because I got nothing. I do think we need to do more research before we can do anything. I think correct me if I'm wrong, Aurora, did we vote last month to go forward with something, but I can't remember what it was? Oh, Tikisha.
I was gonna say, I think where we left it last month is that there is a subset of us who are going to dive into this deeper and bring some information back. So if I agree that there's nothing for this item on the agenda.
Aurora, I saw your thumbs up. So, okay, that's where we are. And we're going to have to do more and we will do more. And at the moment, I have no update for y'all. The next item on the agenda is an open discussion of any topic whatsoever. We are almost at the end. Look at that, 8:21 in the evening. Does anyone have any business, new, old, preference for certain election results or baseball teams?
This is Takesha. I have one item, but I have to find it. So if someone else has
Take your
something to
time. I will say something regarding human rights. I'm very excited about the United Nations Declaration thing, and I'm most excited that they're gonna friggin' produce it because that's really a huge load off of all of us, including Sarah, who worked so hard last year. And I think we're still going to have to do some work, Sarah, but the bulk of it is going to be the responsibility of the West Hartford Public Schools, and we're so grateful to them. And now we just need to get some more names, and we're going to get that done.
The only problem, Don, and we can talk offline about this, is that they've agreed to do like 3, 6, 12, 15. So we're going to have to intersperse unless
And
we,
preambles on us too, right?
but I mean, they can't just give us one tape that we play because,
No, they're doing 10 tapes.
right. So we're still going to have to do all the editing, but that's all right.
Oh, yeah, I know.
The
I'd rather
only-
have 10 tapes that are edited than
Yes.
none.
Agreed. The only thing I was going to say while Takesha's looking is, because I'm so old and I've been on this commission so long, I just wanted to point out, so things have been a little bit different during COVID, but before that, people did come to us fairly regularly with complaints and with issues. And we can reach out again to the community once things are under control. But we've had people come to us with things like, the mom of the child who had the anti-Semitic attack against her at Hall High School came to us to support them and speak at a school board meeting about it. A town councilor came to us about opening up the charter and supporting that. Somebody else came to us about plaques on the walls at town hall that they found offensive, and if we could get those plaques removed, which actually was great and led to Essie doing a whole, bringing in a whole bunch of people and looking at everything on every wall all over town.
Did an inventory, yeah.
Doing a whole inventory and coming up with a plan for what should be on the wall instead of it just being kind of somebody gave us this thing, we're going to hang it up now. So I thought that was kind of cool. And it just started with one person seeing one plaque and saying, why is this on the West Hartford Town Hall wall? So we've had a wide variety from things that are relatively trivial to things that are relatively severe. But I think it's great that the town sort of sees us as somebody that can come to, and we should continue to encourage that.
I have a elderly gentleman I met at Juneteenth who desperately wants to come and talk to us. He doesn't have an agenda item. He just wants to share his experiences and what he thinks the Human Rights Commission should do. So I'm looking forward to getting with him to get him in here. He wants to be a commissioner, to be honest, but he'll settle for speaking.
So I was going to say too, around people who are disabled, that somebody came to us right a while ago about not being able to get into the Barnes and Noble because the doors are so heavy, it forms sort of a wind tunnel. And so if you try to get in a wheelchair, there's no way to open those doors. So, I mean, really like runs the gamut of things that people have brought to us.
Amazing. All right, Takesha, you're up.
Thanks. This is Takesha Everett. So in our open discussion, I just wanted to talk about or bring forward this on October. At the last town council meeting, there was a consideration of a proposed petition, the proposed crime petition to be moved to the Public Safety Committee. And I don't know, again, if this is anything that this commission would weigh in on or opine on or anyway, but I did just thought when I looked at the agenda and open discussion that this is something of interest that I thought I would bring forward and was brought forward to me, but that's all I had to say. No opinion or anything otherwise.
That's fine. Anyone have any comments on that? All right. Oh, Ted, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious because I listened to this part of that meeting, and Mary Fay's crime bill, I'll call it, that she brought up, everybody, the rest of the council moved it off to committee. So crime is one thing that, I mean, reaches across aisles. Everybody can say that they want to live in a safe community. I don't really think that's too difficult there. So how long do we allow that to sit in committee with nothing happening before we start to say something about it?
Would anyone like to answer that? Because I have a thought or two, but I'd like to offer the floor first to someone else. Well, I think, Ted, it's our responsibility to make sure that Carol Blanks, who is the newly reelected council person in charge of that committee, moves swiftly and examines all the issues. One of the things that I was engaging Ms. Fay, Councilwoman Fay, on social media was that in all the presentation of the police crime stats, she left out one, which is that overall crime in West Hartford dropped 16% in the last year. Now, there are specific spikes in crime. I don't think there's any disagreement about that. There was a carjacking in Bishop's Corner of a woman in broad daylight. So I know there's crime, and I think the crime is something we definitely need to address. So I think it's up to our commission to keep tabs on where that goes. Ted, may I ask, would you be interested in leading that charge and reaching out to Carol Blanks, maybe Monday, maybe not today because it's the day after the election, but to ask for a progress update on what's happening with that committee and its proposal?
Sure.
Anyone
Sure,
want to second that? Ted being our ambassador for that?
I second.
Eric, thank
I
you.
second
Eric
this
seconds.
for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Isam. Thank you, Ted. I think it's a good idea. I think we need to hold our government accountable. And I agree that crime is certainly an issue. I just want to make sure we get all the stats, not just the ones that, foster fear or propaganda. Takesha.
And that is that comment that I would like to offer now. It's not even an opinion, but it's the comment that I think there's a dangerous conversation happening, in my opinion, in Connecticut about crime that is not really taking into account the overall facts and the overall statistics, as well as the overall context of the world we're in right now. So I do think swift action, not swift, I think deliberative action that doesn't delay progress, to Ted's point, is something that we should take, but I also don't want that to be done at the expense of convenient politics or convenient review of statistics. And that's not a commentary on Councilwoman Fay. It's just the point that we need to be sure that we're considering all of the data.
I agree. Aurora, please.
Hey, Aurora Melita here. Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that, we've seen quite a change in patterns, so I think that to put new laws in place to address what we may have been experiencing as a result or, highly intensified from circumstances of the pandemic, which is not they are not normal circumstances, would do greater harm for the longevity of our communities. So I really understand and appreciate where you're coming from with those comments, and just wanted to add that into the conversation, and would be really interested. I like the idea of kind of following locally what's happening in regards to this specific crime bill, because Ted, like you said, it touches upon so many things. So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
I agree. Anyone else have any thoughts about that? Our next meeting is Wednesday, December 1st at 7 o'clock. Unless someone else has something to bring up, I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn at 8:30 p.m. on November 3rd.
I'll make
So
the motion.
moved. And I second.
Ted moves, Isam seconds. That concludes the Human Rights Commission meeting at 8:30 p.m. November 3rd. We will see you all December 1st. And thank you all for attending and for your interesting and wonderfully appreciated comments. Thank you all.
Thank you so
night.
much, everybody,
Good night.
and have
I
a
didn't screw
great
it
night.
up. Yay.
Bye-bye. You did great, Don. You did great.
Thank you, Isam.
Thanks for filling in today. Thank you so much.